I getting the countdown? Oh, hello, Snowline. Good afternoon. Ryan Holman here. Welcome to our town hall. First and foremost, my apologies. Technical difficulties. I will take ownership in that. I think if you know me, you know that watch out for Ryan Holman and technology, but we are up and going now. So thrilled to be part of this second town hall. This one is set to focus on, of course, our at-home learning, but we're here to answer any and all questions to support the community. I take a quick step back and just say that we really appreciated our first one, and so that's why we're engaged in this second one, because it hopefully provides all of you with the information you need to understand what's happening in Snowline Joint Unified School District to support this entire learning community and, of course, our wonderful students first and foremost, but everybody here. But also it really informs us. It helps us really understand what those needs are out in our learning community and try to shape our efforts, our educational program to meet the needs of this entire wonderful community. And speaking of that wonderful community, I hope all of you right now are well, staying healthy, and prepared for 90 minutes, and we will go 90 minutes and not shortchanging any of that time, 90 minutes for an opportunity for us to, again, to share with you the answers to your questions and hopefully prepare ourselves again for the start of school, which is set for August 17th. And so again, thank you for allocating your time here. But before we get going, and we will get going in just a moment, I want to share with you who is here with us. I will tell you, if there's any perceived success that I have, a lot of it's due to these wonderful individuals, these friends of mine who should be friends of all yours. You need to know them. So let me give a quick introduction. First and foremost, you're going to hear from these individuals throughout the course of the evening. As I talk and share answers, I want to make sure that we get the experts involved, and here are those experts. Dennis Zimmerman, he, I think, is starting his 30th year in the school district. Tremendous experience here, and he is our assistant superintendent of human resources, has been a principal and teacher here, so you've got great access to expertise through him. As is the same case with Alan Miller. Alan Miller, he too, great experience here in Snowline. Not only is he assistant superintendent of our student learning support services, but he's also a graduate in the Snowline School District, been a teacher and a principal here in our district too. He will be a wonderful resource, just as well be Robert Chacon. He's the assistant superintendent of our business services, and he is just like Alan, and proud to say myself too, a graduate of the Snowline Joint Unified School District. And so we've got this level of expertise, experience to hopefully support all of you, again, with those questions. And just to set the stage here, those questions have come to us on a variety of forms, right? We've gotten them via text, via email. We've gotten them via our social media. So thank you to all of you who have reached out. We've got at least 40 questions right now. And as you look at the stream, know that if you have an opportunity, a question that pops up, you want to get it into the, get it into us, certainly feel free to do so. Because again, this is really about providing you the information that you need. So with all that background, let's get right after it and get started here, because we held you up long enough and we're excited to get into our town hall. I'm going to start in all cases by reading the question, and I'll provide any information that I can, and then call on those wonderful individuals who are joining me here today to make this the best possible experience for all of you. So let's, again, get right after it. That first question comes from our Google form platform, and that's Robert R. And he says, is there a way to volunteer to help teachers who are not tech savvy in order to get their online classes set up? Well, first and foremost, Robert, I need you, right? Because I told you about what happened here today. But with that, Robert, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for volunteering. Now, we're in a delicate situation with volunteers, and that is because of the situation that is COVID-19. Kids are not coming back to school. They're staying at home, and same is the case for our volunteers. So we've had to limit that. But I would say this, Robert, please reach out to me via email, make that telephone call to me, because I would love to talk about how we might be able to access your expertise to help not only teachers, but all of our staff. Because as is said many times by myself, and I'll be talking about it today, if there's ever a time for us to be working together, working as an entire learning community, now is the time. And so, Robert, if you'd reach out to me, we'll see what we can do to make sure that we adhere to the safety guidelines, but get your information that you're so very generously offering to us. So thank you, Robert R. Our next question comes to us via text message, and it's an anonymous one, and it says, if staff members have school-age children, are they going to be able to take them to school, and what is that time frame? Now, that's a great question here. And again, I'm going to, answer very similar here in a very similar fashion, I should say. And that is COVID-19 has put us in this position where we are at home learning. Because we're at home learning, that means our kids are just that, they're at home. And while I understand the difficulties that come for all of us with childcare, we're in a position where we cannot have any students on our campuses due to the COVID-19 outbreak and for safety reasons. And so that answer right now is, I'm sorry, no, we can't have them on our campuses. But I want you to know that we've got people working all the time to find ways to support our staff members. And as soon as we can do that, and as soon as we're able to do so in a safe manner and being supported by all the authorities who do support us in this regard, we'll certainly let people know that right away. The third question comes to us via the Google form. It's from Melissa A. And she says, will students still be able to participate in sports at the schools? Right now, sports are not operational. They're not operational by virtue of a state order, as well as when we talk about athletics at the high school level, CIF Southern Section has pushed athletics from right now to as soon as December 14th. So really, if we think about timeframes, the whole first semester for athletics at the high school level has been pushed back across the entire state, across the entire Southern Section, which governs our athletics, to basically the second semester. So at this stage, we have no athletics. You also may know that we did have for 2 weeks' time sports were starting to open up in June, but we had to back off of that because of the mandates that came down to us from the county level as well as the state. So stay tuned on sports, because as things change, we're always going to be making that information available to all of you. But for right now, know that it's really the second semester, as early as December 14th, where athletics will be starting for our students. Moving on to the fourth question, it's a text message, and it's an anonymous one. It says, how will attendance be taken, and how long will a school day be? I love this question because distance learning, as was the situation from March until June, was a totally different design. I want to make that really clear. You're going to hear that many times tonight. But that term, distance learning, is just that, a term from last year. So now in this at-home learning design, and specifically either remote school, where kids are connected to a school, or homeschool, and that would be through Snowline Academy, is wholly different, will be much better for all concerned, particularly our students and their learning as we move forward. So with that background, attendance is tied to that. Now, I've done a lot of talking, and I will share with you that we're in the development of that attendance, but I'm going to look to my colleague and give myself just a quick break, or give all of you a quick break from me, to have Dennis Zimmerman fill in an area that he is very expert in and overseeing, about some details, Dennis, that you would want to share with our community relative to attendance, and also segue into the length of the school day. Dennis?
Thank you, Dr. Holman. So length of the school day, we have minimum instructional minutes that have been set by the state of California for all our public schools throughout the state. They are less than what they would normally be, but those instructional minutes can be reached in a variety of ways during the student day. So we have staff that have been working extra all summer long in preparation for what may be coming, what is coming, what still, maybe yet to be known, in how we will reach those minutes. The school day, though, I don't have those minutes right in front of me right now. I apologize. Is still a good amount of length, from, I think, 3 hours a day for the youngest of kids, up to as many as 240 minutes or 4 hours a day for the older students. But again, that can vary. It's not all in-person time. It's not all in front of a screen. It's a combination of many pieces. And attendance will be taken by checking in with teachers, by completing assignments, by being present when different live pieces are going on. So there's unique ways that the attendance will be taken on a daily basis, because that is a requirement of school, as well as in this remote school, remote learning season that we're in now.
Dennis, thanks so very much. Appreciate the answers in both of those situations. As we transition to our next question, comes to us from Daisy F. Daisy, thank you for your email. And this is what she asks. She says, will the school district be able to have all students set up with Chromebooks 1 week prior to school starting? And will principals be doing videos to let us know what to expect in the school day? Thank you for that two-part question, Daisy. Let me start with that first part. Chromebooks, yes, is the answer to the Chromebooks. And in terms of that week prior, our schools are in the process of finalizing their schedules. And you're going to be hearing from our schools very soon about when that time is for you, Daisy F, or Daisy F, your child, your family, I should say, to come in and get the Chromebooks for each and every child in our district. And that's elementary school, middle school, and high school level. So look for that information forthcoming, because in this at-home learning design, it is imperative, right, that all of you have the technology that you need, the devices, Chromebooks in this case for all students, as well as internet access, which I bet we'll be getting to a little bit later on. But I will tell you that, again, to answer that question, yes, and most of those deliveries of all those instructional materials are in that first week prior, which begins next week. And then when you ask about videos, I will tell you we've got a number of our principals who are very big fans of that video format. You're going to be seeing videos coming from them, I'm sure. You'll be seeing I'll warn you right now, Daisy, I've seen a video or two coming from me too. So look for not only videos, but on all of our platforms, how we're communicating, because we can't communicate enough. And so I want you to be aware that that information will be coming out. It'll be coming out in really large scale fashion to ensure that you, Daisy F, and all of our stakeholders here, who are our parents, our community members, our staff members, most importantly, our students, understand what that design will be. So thanks so much for that two-part question. Our next question comes to us via Google Form from Karen V, and it's two-part again too. And the first one is a virtual orientation where the parents and students can meet each student's teacher, is asking if that will be the case. And then secondly, will there be a training, whether live or video, so that students know how to navigate through the Google Classroom or any other online platform before school starts on August 17th? So let's go back to that first one and that virtual orientation where the parents and students can meet their teacher and so forth. Connectivity is so very important. So very often we hear about this term, and that is social distancing. I've really tried to make certain that not only myself, but our entire learning community is starting to avoid that term. We need to physically distance ourselves to make sure that we're taking the proper measures to avoid contracting COVID-19. But I bring that up because social connections are so very key. We can't be distancing ourselves socially. And so in that response that I just gave you, there's an answer there that says, yes, we need to make sure that not only the orientation, but that we're providing those connections for the students, and hopefully the parents can be part of that in some way, shape, form, to know that, yes, our teachers, they are so looking forward to connecting with our students. So know that not only is going to be happening from an orientation standpoint, but daily. That's a major difference with remote school and homeschool in this new at-home learning design. So I really want to emphasize that piece there. Now, as for training, I'm going to ask one of my colleagues, and so you don't have to listen to me the whole night here, but we've got some wonderful trainings in place for staff members, but also some plans looking forward for families, not just students, but also the parents. So Alan Miller, if you would be so kind to open up your microphone, I'd love to have you share the big plans that we have that are being formulated to support Karen V and the others who have interest in this area.
Absolutely, that would be my pleasure, Ryan. Just want to let all of you know that we've given a lot of thought and attention to supporting our staff members as they move forward with remote learning, with our remote school model this year. And we know that there are varying levels of expertise out there right now. We want to level that playing field by making sure that people have access to the same skills and knowledge that everyone else will have as we move forward with this. So we've carved out 2 days that are sponsored by the school district for all of our teachers. The first day being more of a cohort training, and it's customized just for Snowline through our partners over at the EdTech team. We will have that broken up by primary elementary school teachers. So teachers that are anywhere from pre-K through second grade. We'll have intermediate elementary school for grades 3 through 5. We'll have a middle school cohort, and we'll have a high school cohort. I'm excited about the high school cohort specifically because they're going to be offered a number of tools and strategies to be successful in a remote learning environment, as well as make some really tight connections to their Canvas LMS platform that they're going to be using for the very first time this year. That is a platform that's used at the post-secondary level, being junior colleges and universities. So we're very excited about that. So we have some great items in regards to infrastructure available for teachers, as well as the training to support that. On the second day of training, which will be August 12th, we are going to be participating once again with our friends at EdTech Team. They are sponsoring a summit, nationwide summit that many teachers will be participating in. We lucked out during this window that we were able to jump on board and offered our teachers another layer of training in which they will be able to select the sessions that they would like to attend based on their own abilities and interests to make them more successful in that virtual learning environment once again. Beyond that, we'll have continuous support. We've got a teacher on special assignment, Deb Peace, who's just incredible ace when it comes to instructional technology. So she'll be at the ready to support our teachers as well as our students, just to make sure that they have everything that they need and they feel very comfortable and confident when it comes to engaging in an online learning environment. Deb will also be undertaking some boot camps, if you will, for our parents to help them to support their children at home when it comes to technology. And why the list goes on and on. We have so much to offer and are very proud that we'll be able to support all of our staff and parents as well as students, most importantly, as we move forward in this very different but exciting endeavor.
Yeah, Alan, thanks so much for sharing that. And so again, when it comes down to that last part of that question for students, all that Alan just talked about so benefits the students. And we think about the question beforehand, really that first day is August 17th. So don't worry, students, right? You're going to get the materials. You'll have those materials. And then on August 17th, that will be go time. That's when we will start. And I have to just say this, and Alan, I love everything that he shared, but boy, isn't the truth, boy, in most cases, the students are teaching us on these platforms here. So students, you're going to be doing a great job. Look forward to those great outcomes. So thanks so very much, Alan, and thank you for that. Yeah, I really appreciate the thoughtfulness of what was just shared in that two-part question. As we move on, the text message comes to us. It's an anonymous one, and it says, how will breakfast and lunch work for students? And will it be served daily? And if so, at what times? And then thirdly, or will it only be on certain days like during the summer? So thanks so much for this question. This is a very important one. I'll just say very quickly, yes, meals are going to be served. And yes, you're going to see them rolling out at our sites. But let me turn this over to Robert Chacon so you can hear from him, because he has even further details that he can share with you now as we continue to finalize that. I want to preface this by taking steps over the end of this week to finalize our plan, but we want to make certain you know how you're going to be supported. So Robert, you might turn on your mic and sharing any details that I left out.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Holman. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be supporting our students with meals again this school year in much of the same way that we did during the COVID-19 shutdown back in March, April, May, and June. Hard to believe it was that long. It flew by. But we will be providing breakfast and lunch for our students. Be on the lookout. Probably early next week, you should be receiving something in the mail. It will have some information regarding lunches, distribution, when, where, how, and why. And there will also be included in that letter will be a barcode. And that barcode is essentially an ID number that's attached to the student. And you will need that barcode in order to receive breakfast and lunch at our school sites. So the fine details we will be kind of cleaning up this week. So be on the lookout next week for something in the mail regarding the details of that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Robert. I appreciate that. And I just have to take the opportunity to give a huge shout out to all of our staff members who work just incredibly hard from March to June. And we think about nutrition services and what they were doing day after day. Many people might not know we served almost 250,000 meals. Once again, I'll say that almost 250,000 meals from March until June. And so we're just thrilled to not only talk about that and even into the summer, but then revisit that again real soon. So thanks so very much for that question that we just received via text. As we move on, here's a Google form from Glory L, and that says, "Can children do packets instead of having to do all online?" Glory L, thanks for asking this question. We've heard this before, and I want you to know that packets and other paper materials that are supplemental to the process of online are going to be in place. But I have to tell you about what Senate Bill 98 that is driving what not only our school district and mandating what we have to do, but also throughout the whole state. Specific to this at-home learning, and that is that all kids need to have the devices and need to be able to have the access. And we'll talk more about access in a moment, but that doesn't eliminate other resources that can supplement the learning process. So I want to make sure that Alan Miller can talk about that because that's on the learning side of the house and add some really crucial details so that you know where paper comes in, but that how the online design is going to really be the driver because of Senate Bill 98. Alan, do you mind just filling in any other details that are important to know?
Sure, it's my pleasure. Just to kind of reiterate what you said there, Dr. Holman, packets and supplemental materials will be more than welcome to be used, depending on what the teachers choose to do and how they decide to guide their classes. But that once again will be a blended model in which there will always be that live instruction on a daily basis. But students will be permitted to work in maybe packets and supplemental materials during the time that they're working independently. Now, let me go to one extreme. If a family is looking solely for a kind of a contract or a paper packet type program, we have Snowline Academy, which is more of our homeschool program that will be offering that option. And we'll continue to offer that option past our post-pandemic, if you will. So if that option fits the need of your family, I would definitely reach out to Snowline Academy to inquire about that option so that you can get more information.
Alan, thanks so very much. Thanks for reminding us about Snowline Academy. Like you said, will be post-pandemic and has been pre-pandemic as well, right? It's been a very successful program for many, many years. So thanks for bringing attention to that. And as we go on here, again, all these questions are so very much appreciated, outstanding ones. And here's an anonymous one via email. It says, "My student's on an IEP. And it's a two-part question. How will they receive their speech services is the first part. And the second part being, what will instruction in special education look like?" Again, thank you for this question. Really important. First and foremost, yes to services. I want to really clarify, yes to services as we move into this coming year. Now, with that, let's get more specific relative to speech and language services. And let me just add in occupational therapy, clinical counseling coming from our Desert Mountain Children's Center and other types of programs. They will continue to be provided virtually until further notice. And that further notice meaning as long as we're on this at-home learning design. And those services know that they will resume once school starts in that at-home learning design, and that begins on August 17th. So look forward to hearing from site case carriers, right? Those individuals who provide those services and facilitate those services to support kids. And when we go to that second question, it talks about what will instruction in the special education realm look like. Again, it's going to be virtual instruction. Now, those case carriers for the students on IEPs, they're again going to be contacting the families to ensure that further information can be provided through our daily live instruction that's necessary, plus the materials and even scheduling to ensure that every child on an IEP is what's necessary to ensure his or her success in this at-home learning environment. So again, to that person who wrote this email, we really appreciate that question so we can talk about those great services that will be forthcoming in a new environment, but an important way for us to provide the assistance that's absolutely necessary. Our next question comes via Google Form, and it's from Larry B. And he says here that I'd like to ask if you plan to apply or have already applied to the county or state for a waiver for in-person school to be permitted in Snowline. And parenthetically, he says this would be the waiver process that Governor Newsom mentioned at his July 17th news conference. Larry B., thanks for this question, and a very timely one, Larry B., because just late last night from the state of California, we received details relative to, just as he said, Governor Newsom mentioned on July 17th. Now, this waiver process, let me clarify something. The opportunity for a waiver, as indicated in this question, came from Governor Newsom, and that in-person school waiver is only targeted for elementary school age kids. That's how that waiver was formed at the state level. That's not a decision on our part. And now more directly, when it says, do we plan or have we applied? First and foremost, we have not applied, nor has anyone, because that just became available today. But in terms of our planning, what I can say is this. Having close contact with our agencies and our health officials, I can tell you that we don't meet the requirements right now. Those requirements are relatively rigorous, specific to COVID-19 coronavirus outbreak. Give some quick examples. In the written guidelines from the California Department of Public Health, there are a number of factors and COVID-19 data points that we need to meet as a community to be able to be considered. I'll give two examples of that are written right into the guidelines. First being community incidence. And that's the rate at which COVID-19 exists in Snowline's boundaries, our 200 plus square miles. And just to give you some perspective, over the last, as I counted up, I guess in my head, 4 to 5 weeks, we've been getting these reports now. And from just prior to Governor Newsom, July 17th, we had a 256 community incident rate per 100,000. Then in the next week went up to 289. And then in the next week went up to 450. And then more recently went up to 491. And then just today, I received our latest, and that's a 709 community incident rate. Now, that rate is always going to go up as individuals are identified, but I bring up that rate because that rate's above the rate at which we can be considered for a waiver. Now, secondarily, another important piece of information specific to COVID-19 that I want to share with everyone is the positivity rate. That also is mentioned in the California Department of Public Health waiver guidelines. Our positivity rate in San Bernardino County right now is at 13.2% today. That has been increasing. I can tell you that we don't have those data for Snowline because they're not presented to us thus far this way. That is a plan for me to work with the the San Bernardino County Department of Public Health so we can get those data. But those numbers are higher than an allowable too. So we can't apply right now in terms of plans. As our data get to be within the realms of possibility in terms of being considered for that waiver, we can do that. We'll work, of course, with our governing board, our school board members from the Snowline Joint Unified School District, all of our staff member groups and our community to ensure when the right time is to move forward. But I'll leave this question with this. If there's anything that we can do, we can control our own data. We can control the Snowline data. So as you see in my letters, I would just urge everyone to continue to wear those face masks, continue to physically distance, continue to use proper hygiene, washing those hands, because the better we do, the better our numbers look, the lower the COVID-19 incidence rate will be in our community, and the better chance we can get at trying to get back to in-person learning. Long-winded answer as usual for me, but hopefully that information is helpful to the entire community so that once again we can work together in solving this at-home learning design and going back to in-person learning. So thank you, Larry B. Our next question comes via Google form, and it's an anonymous individual who says, will all courses be offered at the middle and high school levels, including CTE courses, and how will CTE work? Another outstanding question. And the first answer is yes. All those courses will be offered. How will CTE work? We've got work to be done in that regard, and it is being done to determine how those hands-on courses can be offered in a setting that isn't hands-on, right? That is at home. Real quickly, Alan Miller, if you would open up your microphone, because I know you have some things that you want to add here in this regard under student learning support services and particularly middle and high school levels. Alan?
Absolutely. You know, I've had the privilege of working with all of our principals across the school district, and I can just say that there's been a lot of thought and collaboration that's gone into offering the highest quality courses that we can offer in this remote learning environment. And our goal is to rival or even surpass the quality that would occur in the physical buildings. So I feel that the work is in great hands among our principals and our teachers who have come together to figure out how to best deliver instruction. I know that CTE brings its own set of challenges, being that it's so specialized and there's such a high level of vocational or hands-on type of work that goes on in those courses, but they're working very hard in coming up with solutions that they'll be able to offer that to students in a way that won't shortchange them. It'll look different for sure, and I'm sorry that I cannot articulate how it will look, but I can guarantee that we'll get the job done, and we'll make sure that students are still continuing to get great instruction and are learning in those career technical education courses.
Yeah, Alan, thanks so very much. And I just want to reiterate, great people doing great things for our district. So I have really high hopes too. I mean, on just hard issues. So you said so very well. So thank you, Alan, for your assistance with that. As we go on to our next question, it's a text message and it comes to us anonymously and it says, how will absences be handled this year for students? I think is this reference. And what happens if our internet is down for a few days? Will that count against us, meaning probably the student in this case, as an absence? Probably comes to us from a family member, it sounds like. And so in that regard, let me just share with you in general, first and foremost, we're here to support students. We're here to listen, to learn from them, but ultimately lift up the kids and make them be successful. So when we talk about handling absences, a little different this year, Dennis Zimmerman really works closely in this area. And Dennis, I'll ask you to open up your microphone because we've been doing a lot of work around this and you've got some details here that you might want to just share with everyone, given the flexibility that we have to be able to support students in this regard, specific to these two questions. Dennis?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, we do have flexibility in how we are taking attendance, which then accounts for students present or students absent. Very different than the accountability piece on the instruction and the learning side. And we will use that flexibility to the greatest of access that we are legally allowed to do the best thing for students and learning. So if the internet goes down for a period of time, somehow call us, let us know. School offices will be answering phone calls, district offices will be answering phone calls. We want to work with you to help out in that realm so that we know that you're out there. Doing assignments and having those, turning those in, and teachers will go through all that process when we get there, with how assignments, are completed and turned into teachers for grading and accountability. So again, many different opportunities. If that internet goes down, my guess is you are still going to have quite a bit of work that teachers have already laid out there that the kids can still be doing while the internet is down. So we do not want that to hurt you, but we'll be following up with you to find out, hey, how come we haven't heard from you? And you'll be following up with us as well. So thank you.
Yeah, Dennis, thanks so much for that answer. Really appreciate that. Appreciate the emphasis on flexibility too, right? Let's go right to this next question because I read ahead here. We're going right back to flexibility here. And here's the question via Google Forms from an anonymous individual. Will there be any flexibility with our shifts for those of us that are returning to work on campuses that have multiple young children at home, and is FMLA an option? So again, another two-part question. I want to say again, we're back to flexibility, and something I'm very proud about in terms of being in the Snowline School District for all the years I've been here. This is starting number 27 and a good number 7 as a student myself, is we're about people, people first, right? Students, our staff members, and in the context of staff, and our community members, families too, I should have mentioned, but in the context, as I stop there on staff members, I want to tell you there's a lot of hard work being led by Dennis Zimmerman to ensure that we can do as best we can in any ways to try to support our families. our students, and in this case, staff members. So Dennis, what might you add? Because there's some details around FMLA that we can talk about here, as well as that first part of that question.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Anonymous, for your question. And we are having staff members reach out to us about this on a daily basis. We're doing our best to answer questions along the way, but we are working to figure out what types of flexibility we can allow for people to do their work, and for them also to fulfill other responsibilities that they have, such as the ones you've mentioned here in your question about multiple young children at home, school age children. And we hope to have information coming out soon about some flexibility. Again, we're blessed that the school year got pushed back 2 days. We've got a little bit of time left before school starts. I do know we have staff that are back, coming back this week, coming back next week, but we are working on that because we do want to work together. Family Medical Leave Act is always an option. There are qualifying factors for that. You can contact us here in HR, and we can work through that with you if that's something that you would like to consider or you would like more information about. But again, we do want to work together with people to make this work as well as possible for everybody.
Yeah, so well said, Dennis, and thanks again for heading that piece up and communicating that so very well. As we move on to our next question, it's another Google form from an anonymous individual, and here we go about hotspots. Will hotspots be offered to all students who have limited or no internet access at home? When will they be distributed, and how can we, get on the list? Yes, first and foremost, those hotspots. We have 1,000 hotspots from 2 different providers that are really excited to be able to provide internet access to those who do not have it and who have that limited access to ensure that they can be successful. They're coming soon. Robert, I'm going to cue you up here because this falls in your category, and I know some great work being done by yourself and others with whom you work. So Robert, how about some more of these great details we can share today?
Absolutely. Thanks, Ryan. Great question. Yeah, and we're really excited to be able to provide, hotspot internet access for those who need it in our communities. There will be an application process. We're working through some of those fine details actually as we speak, and just be on the lookout for those details to come out here in the next few days. There'll be an application process. It'll be vetted, and then we will be able to distribute those hotspots accordingly to those families in need. Just please keep in mind that we only have 1,000 of those, right? So with a district of 7,500 students, 1,000 of those hotspots will be available to absolutely those people that absolutely need them. So please keep that in mind as we move into this school year. So we're trying to really support those households who do not have access. We realize, we are in high desert, and sometimes access is very limited. Our IT department did a great job. They actually drove the entire district to locate and find those areas that don't have internet access, or that may have access and it is limited. So those areas have been defined. We kind of have them geographically mapped out, so we kind of know where those areas are, so we can make sure that we're supporting those students into the school year.
Yeah, Robert, so well said. Thanks for saying that. Thanks for bringing up what Director Rick Hernandez and his colleagues headed up that driving throughout the district. I mean, every corner, all 200 plus square miles, really appreciate that great work. As we move forward here, there's a special education question from April L. via Google Form, and it goes like this. It says, 2 of my boys are in the special education program at Phelan Elementary School. My question is, how much screen time will they be doing? Also, both boys receive speech therapy as well as occupational therapy, and how are those going to be implemented? So, April L., thanks for, again, bringing up special education, because we want to be really clear. Those services will remain. They're going to be in virtual form, as I talked about earlier, but April, please rest assured that case carriers will be reaching out, ensuring that speech therapy and occupational therapy will be designed virtually in ways so that your 2 boys can get the support that they need. And when we talk about that screen time, I will tell you just a huge credit to all of our teachers who have this on their minds. We have this as an entire learning community on our minds, that while there are required minutes that we need to be engaged in, and I know Dennis Zimmerman talked about that, that doesn't mean all screen time. So as we move through this process, please, April, as we always say, we love that parent involvement, particularly in this case on the special education end and with case carriers. So please express those concerns so that, again, we can meet the needs of our kids, not just your two boys, but all kids. So thank you so very much, April, for that question. As we move forward, there's a text message from an anonymous individual, and it says, will elementary school kids still receive math and language arts workbooks, or will they all have assignments that are online? And if workbooks will be provided for some assignments, how will they be submitted to the teachers? Great questions from an anonymous individual via text message. Alan Miller, I'll get you ready for this, because elementary school kids, there will be workbooks and there will be assignments that might be connected to those workbooks, because teachers I know are gearing up to be able to make use of those supplemental resources. So Alan, what might you add to my answer there that might be helpful to all of our elementary school parents and students out there?
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, this is a very timely question, being that it was a topic of conversation yesterday during our Leadership Council meeting. We will be providing our elementary school students with consumable resources or workbooks that they'll have available at home or have access to at home. If they're a learner like me, I'm the kind that likes that hard copy to write and annotate on. So I think that that's very important for those students to be able to do the same. Don't know quite how that the logistics or the collection of written assignments will occur. It'll probably vary by teacher. There might be instances where that people can go ahead and photograph a written assignment and send it to the teacher for proof of completion or to receive feedback. So I think there'll be a variety of different ways to account for that work. But I think it's safe to say that those workbooks will be, in most cases, for the purpose of students being able to have something tangible that they can work in and to help them stay organized.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Just really appreciate you getting that word out. Important answer there, and as all of these are. As we move forward here, I really appreciate this question from Janice C., just like all the others. Comes via YouTube. So again, know that there's another way to get questions out right now to us. And what Janice says is this: what if my child doesn't want to participate in Zoom or video conference meetings, but is getting all of his work done? First and foremost, Janice, thanks for the question. Secondly, thanks for letting us know that it sounds like your son is going to be getting his work done. That is incredibly important. But what's also essential is connecting. And I'll say this, Janice, Senate Bill 98, amongst the mandates in there, there's one I really appreciate, and that's the valuing of the social connection. I mentioned that earlier, and the power of us connecting, whether it be in person, which we can't do right now, given the constraints that COVID-19 has placed on us, but even in the virtual realm. Senate Bill 98 governing this at-home learning really mandates that occurs. It's an important part of this at-home learning experience. So please let us know if there are, let our teachers know, of course, if for some reason your son is having challenges getting on, because we want to get him on for the reasons that not only is it mandated, but it's because it's the right work. We need to connect kids, not only to their teachers, of course, which is incredibly important, but to the other kids, so that they can have as best as possible in a virtual setting that powerful experience that is, as I've mentioned way too many times, but I'll say it again, together. That notion of being together, they're a powerful learning experience in that realm. So Janice, thanks for sharing that. Please get your son ready and allow us to help you get your son ready for those video conferences that are forthcoming. As we go to our next question, it's a text message from an anonymous individual. And it talks about what is the educational benefit form and why should we fill this out? I really appreciate this question like the others. This one, when we talk about the educational benefit form, first you'll hear us refer to as the EBF, right? The educational benefit form. This is a form that we're asking 100% of our families to fill out. There's no social security number required. It's totally confidential, but it's new to our district because it's a new way of providing a calculation for our funding. I will just say simply this, that the more of you who fill out that educational benefit form, the more funding we get for who? For our students, for the programs that we provide for those students, for all the resources that we provide for our students. So I can't emphasize enough that this is, to be quite frank, the allocation of 5 minutes or less of all of our families. Please, you're going to hear from us time and again once school starts, but I also want you to know it is available right now. And if you get tired of listening to me, log on right this minute. It's on our website. There's a link, I think, on the YouTube channel right now. Click on it. Again, it's less than 5 minutes, and it's just a beautiful way for us to make certain that we get as much funding as possible, that our students are due, to make sure that we support them. Now, I got to get off my soapbox here. Robert Chacon, anything else you add? Because this is one of the areas that you've been overseeing.
Yeah, I'll hop on my soapbox real quick if that's all right, Ryan. So right now that EBF form is available online. James, our marketing department, has been doing a great job kind of sending all that info out. So you'll be seeing text messages with the hyperlink to Rocket Scan apps. That is the app that we're using to collect that data. And in case you're not receiving those text messages or you don't follow us on social media, we will also be mailing out those EBF forms here in the next couple weeks. So be on the lookout. Please check your mail. If you're anything like me, I think somebody else was talking to you today. If you're anything like me, I go to my PO box like once every 2 weeks. Please start going to your PO box. We're going to be sending out information via mail. I know it seems archaic these days, but we still use the USPS. And please check your PO boxes here in the next few weeks as we're starting to distribute information via mail as we get the school year started. So thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, Robert, thanks for joining me on the soapbox. I'm still going to hop back up there real quickly, though, Robert. If someone has difficulty, Robert, for some reason, there's someone to contact, right? Do you mind sharing that, Robert?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have any issues at all, feel free to give us a call, 760-868-5817. And specifically, be asking for our nutrition services department. They are available Monday through Friday during normal business hours. And you'll be looking for extension 10513. I will plug all that info into the chat box right now. So that info is available to you. But please, if you're having issues, I know we have some issues with our TK to K students with some birthdays not being recognized in the EBF form. Please let us help you walk through that so that we can make sure that those students are being accounted for in our funding. So I'll pop all that info out in our chat box right now. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Robert, for sharing the soapbox. Again, just a wonderful opportunity for us to support our kids here with the funding that they deserve. So thanks so very much. As we move forward, let's go to this next question. And Dennis Zimmerman, he's going to be able to help me with this one. It's a great question on the Google form, and it's an anonymous one that says, what does the future hold for campus monitors, our aides, our instructional associates, right, and other classified staff as school moves toward distance learning? And in distance learning, our at-home learning, right? Distance learning was back during last school year. Now we have our at-home learning, but I think we certainly know what the individual here is trying to get at. And thank you for this question. It's a real important one because all of our 1,000 plus employees are just essential to the success of our kids. And we've been talking about how can we use all of our staff members to ensure the success in this at-home learning environment. So Dennis, I've been doing some great work with all these staff members and the leadership of the staff members. Can you share with us the details here that the community at this town hall need to hear?
Yeah, definitely. We very, very much need our campus monitors, our instructional associates, and our other support staff at the schools who on a traditional school year are there on campus supporting kids every day in their safety, in their learning, in their well-being. We still need that moving forward. And we're working with site administrators to determine the best need at each individual school site for these support positions as we transition into this season of remote learning. So I would say just hold tight. We'll be reaching out to you, your individual school sites will, because I know campus monitors, instructional associates, you report to work on Thursday, August 13th for those 2 days where we can have you there to do some training, do some connecting before the first student day on August 17. But we are working through ways for you to help and contribute, because very, very important for you to help us connect with students in this remote learning season.
Yeah, perfect, Dennis. Thanks so very much for talking about the great value of all of our staff members and how they support kids. I really appreciate that. As we go on to our next question, it comes to us from Jennifer H. on Google Form, and she says, how often will the district reevaluate the possibility of face-to-face instruction, monthly, bi-monthly, bi-semester, is the first part of the question. Then secondarily, and how will teachers be held accountable if students are not receiving proper and timely instruction, and maybe in a tertiary or third fashion, and what steps can we take to seek other alternatives like homeschool? Jennifer, thank you for these 3 questions. I'll go through these as efficiently and hopefully thoroughly as I can. First and foremost, how often will the district reevaluate the possibility? First and foremost, I have to tell you, we're doing this on a daily basis. You heard me, maybe if you were on earlier, talk about us looking at the data. The data are really important because the COVID-19 data, community incidence rate, positivity rates, those are again, I want to reiterate, those are part of the equation of us getting back to in-person learning. So we're looking at that on a regular basis daily. But when you talk about specifically how fast we would change over from one setting to the next, it's a wonderful question. I would say this: we would not do it any faster than 2 weeks' time. We've made that agreement, within the Snowline Joint Unified School District, to make certain that we give everybody, our entire learning community, sufficient time to ready ourselves to make that transition. And so you notice that I didn't say monthly or bi-monthly and semester, and that's because when we're at that ready, that could be very close to a semester. It could be a ways away. It could be 2 weeks away. That could be the quickest we could get going. And so what we want to leave out there is this notion: we want to do it within 2 weeks' time, if at all possible, all while knowing that if we're 3 weeks from a semester, it might be 3 weeks. Look for more information, all the while knowing that we're looking at those data regularly to ensure that we can inform all of you when we'll be going back and ready yourselves in 2 weeks' time within our learning community. Now, going on, you talk about teachers being held accountable, students are not receiving proper and timely instruction. In all settings, we want to hear from parents if you have concerns about your students. And that will hold true in the at-home learning, just as it would in any setting. We want to work with all of you, work together. I say that again, work together to ensure that your kids are getting what they need. I want to bring attention to what Alan Miller talked about earlier in that training. I mean, I'm just really looking forward to providing our teachers with that powerful training that will really help them help all students be successful in this upcoming at-home learning. But you also say, what about other alternatives? Snowline Academy is available. I want to say this, Jennifer, I really appreciate you bringing that up, because that is our homeschool program. It's been highly successful for many years, and it does exist. What that would take would simply be making that telephone call over there to make certain that Jennifer, your family, and your student is a good fit for that program. If you see that to be an avenue you want to go down there, certainly reach out to Snowline Academy and their staff so that you can find out if that fit would be for your child, given the circumstances that you've alluded to. So thank you for asking those questions. Those are certainly powerful ones that we need to get out to everybody. Those answers there, I should say. As we continue, there's an anonymous question in Google form, and it's connected to Snowline Academy, as I can see. And it says, if we start with remote learning and realize that it isn't working for our family after a couple of weeks, are we still able to switch to Snowline Academy? The answer would be yes there. But I also want to give a caveat, and that is the other direction, going from Snowline Academy to remote school. That is a much more challenging one. And what we ask when people go over to Snowline Academy is that commitment to the semester, commitment for a semester standpoint. So again, to this person, this anonymous individual, yes is the answer. Can you switch to Snowline Academy? But know that there's a length of time that we ask on the Snowline Academy side, because we've found over the years that that's what's required to ensure the success of kids. We've seen that year after year after year. We have the data. So just keep that in mind as we think about those transitions. But again, have wonderful opportunities. I'm proud to say that we have 2 options where many districts, I can share with you, don't have 2. They simply have 1 in this at-home learning environment. As we continue in the Google form, another anonymous question in that platform, and that says, how are you going to protect classified staff on campus? And when we talk about on campus, that's returning to work, and that is safety is absolutely our priority. All the proper PPE and training too is not only necessary, but will be provided. I think Alan Miller alluded to training, and we have that coming up for our classified staff before school starts. But also we follow the protocols that come down to us from the California Department of Public Health and the San Bernardino County Department of Public Health, our local health agency. We follow all of those protocols to ensure, again, that all the proper protective equipment, all of the processes such as physical distancing and face mask wearing, and all the other requirements, those are being adhered to now, and will continue with not just our classified staff, but our certificated staff too, to ensure safety. If we don't have safety, we're not going to have success. And we owe safety to not just our classified staff members, but all of our staff members, all of our students too. It has to be a place where we can be successful, and safety is a priority for sure. So thank you for asking that question. But Dennis, I want to make sure if you want to add anything to that, that you have that opportunity in this area that is classified staff.
No, thank you. I think you answered it well, that we will follow those protocols that are put out, and we will stay current with them as they change. And we'll continue to work with our bargaining units to make sure we're working together to keep all of us safe with one another.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis, for those good details there. I appreciate that. I appreciate that for sure. Now, from YouTube, from V. Carlin, is there a remote learning model available as a visual for parents to see? My apologies, didn't read that well. Let me read it one more time. Is there a remote learning model available as a visual for parents to see? V. Carlin, I got to tell you, you've stumped me right now. I don't know if we have that right now. Let me turn that over to really anyone on my panel if we have that established yet. I love the idea, but don't know of that to be in existence. Maybe start with you, Alan, given that we're talking about remote learning.
Absolutely. I'll try to help out as best I can here. We don't have a remote model that we can really, display because we're just building it as we go. What I would recommend to any parent is to check out things such as Canvas, which they can go ahead and Google. There might be some YouTube videos available. Google Classroom is another one that will really be used at the elementary and middle school level. So I would also encourage our parents to go ahead and check out that platform as well. There should be a lot of available resources, either videos or articles about those platforms. But once again, check out Canvas, check out Google Classroom, and check out Seesaw. That's going to be used at our lower elementary and preschool levels. So that's another platform. But that should give you a good visual of what that online learning might look like.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alan. And let me just say this. I mentioned at the beginning when we started here that we love answering these questions. Hopefully all of this is helpful. But remember, the reverse is true here too. This gives us the opportunity to learn from all of you and what is needed. And this might be really falling right in that category. So I love the idea of a video and to be able to show people what that might look like. And so I know one of our wonderful colleagues here, James Fields, I'll get in contact with him and see what we might be able to do to support what V. Carlin said there, to go even beyond what those great ideas from Alan Miller, so that our community is feeling really prepared for this upcoming at-home learning. So thanks so very much again for that question. As we move forward, there's a text message from an anonymous person that says, what are the options for classified staff who have young students of their own who have to be online during their parents' work time? Thank you for this question. I think we've talked about that before, and that is that notion of flexibility. We're working really hard to support our staff members. Dennis Zimmerman, is there anything else you'd want to add to that? You answered that very well the first time, and anything you want to add this time?
No, we're, like I say, continuing to work on some flexibility possibilities to allow staff those options. We still have jobs to do, still have jobs we need to get done, but we need to figure out ways to blend our responsibilities as employees with our responsibilities as parents as well. So we're working to come up with the best possible scenarios we can to get both done. And hope more information should be coming out in the very near future.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dennis, for those additional details. As we continue, there's a question about students here from an anonymous source via text message. And it says, do our students have to log on every day at a specific time and be online for a set time, or is it flexible? And then it continues with a second question saying, if a parent is working, can they log on at a later time? Love this question, really appreciate it. And I bet this is one, like so many of them, that many people have this question. Now I'm going to allow Alan Miller to answer in just a moment here, but I want to really cut right to the chase here in some of these cases here, and some of the responses here to this wonderful block of questions, or two-part question. And that is, yes, the notion of logging on every single day, daily interactions are really essential. They're part of Senate Bill 98, that requirement that we have a regular contact with students each and every day. And when we talk about a specific time, what we know about specific times is that structure is incredibly helpful, right? And right now you have to know that schedules are being built to support students in that at-home learning environment. But Alan, I want to make sure that you can talk about the specifics to what I just answered, and also, how parents, when they're working, and how we can access work later on in a synchronous and then asynchronous fashion.
Absolutely, Ryan. We've had many conversations about the challenges of this within the home, with working families and schedules, and we want to be as flexible as possible and being as accommodating as possible. What Ryan said regarding the difference between synchronous and asynchronous learning, synchronous being the live instruction, just like in a setting like we're in now, and asynchronous being recorded lessons and that can be shared with students through the LMS platforms. So what I would do, just because every single situation is unique, I would encourage you to reach out to your child's teacher or to the school site to just make them aware of any challenges that you might have, so that you can work together to come up with a viable solution.
Thank you, Alan. Sorry, being a little slow there and getting off the mute, but I really appreciate the details that you provided there. As we move forward, we go to a question via Google Form. It's from Andrea A. And when can we expect to have materials distributed to students who will be eligible for internet stipends? So we talked about materials and internet stipends. Just want to reiterate again, Chromebooks for all students. Internet stipends, we don't have funds and monies going to pay for internet. What we have are hotspots. Robert, can you just jump in here, and any details you want to provide beyond what you already talked about, specific to all those hotspots that we have at the ready for those who are truly in need of internet access in our school district?
Yeah, really, Ryan, it's just to reinforce the fact that we were able to procure those 1,000 hotspots for those students that are really in need in those areas that have no internet service available, because we do have areas of our district that absolutely do not offer internet service. We have areas in our district that do provide some type of satellite internet service, but it's very poor, unreliable connections. So we're really trying to earmark those hotspots for those students that are in need, that literally have no access to internet. So that's our endeavor with those hotspots.
Thanks, Robert, and thanks again to our technology department, I should say, doing the great work to make that available. And you mentioned too, purchasing department to procure. Just so many staff members doing such great work to make all of this work, make all of this happen, I should say. Yeah, as we continue, there's a question from Ann W via the Google form, and it says, will some classes be recorded in the actual classroom setting? And then she goes on to say, other than curriculum, what supplies will the district be supplying for art, math, hands-on activities, paper, pencils, scissors, crayons, etc.? And thank you for this great two-part question here. When we talk about classes being recorded, that's a really good question there, and really is related to what Alan was just talking about. When we talk about the synchronous and the asynchronous setting, we just heard from Alan there, and know that there are all kinds of learning resources that will be available. In fact, the capacity for students to be live, as we say, that synchronous design, but then the asynchronous design, as Alan talked about, being able to access that learning later on. Now, when we continue on with that curriculum, when we're in the in-person setting, I know I've been at the elementary school level, principal at two wonderful school sites, just so privileged to have done that, and saw many times when those supply lists go out, right? And that's what I'm thinking of as I see this question. What does a supply list look like in a virtual format? And so I have to first say that all the time we're going to provide what's necessary for kids to be successful. We've talked quite a few times on the online side, right? On the remote learning side, the at-home learning side, we've got to get Chromebooks. We've got to get hotspots in the hands for those who need them. But what about in this instance? So Alan, what would you add to the fact that when we talk about those supplies and what kids might need, what should they be prepared for as we get ready for this coming year?
Yes, I would say that the teachers will provide a list of necessary materials for whatever that class may be, and of course, we want to be able to support any families that have a need. So if your child is in need of any kind of materials that are required for the class that they're taking, please once again use that lifeline of the teacher. Let them know what your needs are, and we'll ensure that we support you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alan, and thanks for that question. Like all of these, I think so helpful that's being asked our direction, because all this information goes out to people who I'm sure have the same exact inquiries. As we continue, there's a text message from an anonymous individual, and three parts here. First of all, how will absences be handled this year? Secondly, what happens if our internet is down for a few days? It will few days, and will it count against us while it's down as an absence? And then thirdly, with distance learning, and I'd like to call it remote school or homeschool via Snowline Academy, right? That at-home learning. Can we travel, or will we be required to be in our homes? So great questions on all fronts. Let's take them one at a time. How will those absences be handled this year? Daily participation is necessary, remember, and doing that work. Senate Bill 98 changes how absences are looked at. I'm going to give Dennis a chance to add to that in just a moment. He talked about it earlier, but if there's some other details he wants to add, we'll certainly hear from him in a moment. As we continue down, what if our internet's down? You got to let us know, right? Certainly let us know, because again, we're trying to lift up students. This isn't about penalizing students. Learning never should be. We're trying to lift them up. So let us know so that we can find solutions, so that we can get you back on track to ensure that those students are successful. When we talk about that at home or distance learning, right, as is written there, but at home learning, can we travel? Will we be required to be in our homes? I guess I have to smile there, because to be quite frank, I don't know if we would even be able to tell sometimes if students would be in their homes. What would be really key for me in this quick answer, and we'll go over to Dennis Zimmerman and all of these, to you students and you families, having a secure internet access is critical, and we're ensuring that is going to, well, we're ensuring, but we're making every effort, I should say, to ensure that occurs in the Snowline boundaries. As people travel, that could be a concern. So make certain that we watch out for those situations. But Dennis, what might you add to not just that question of traveling, but also absences that you talked about very well earlier?
Sure. I'm going to try and answer the question about attendance, because I understand why it is such an important question. Just basically looking at what the laws are that we're given to operate under once we go into distance learning. And basically, in order to account for attendance, it says that we shall document daily participation for each pupil on each school day that distance learning is provided. And then it talks about that daily participation can include a number of different things, not even limited to these items that they included, but evidence of participation in online activities, completion of regular assignments, completion of assessments, contacts between staff and students and or parents. So there is room in there to make sure that we are not harming students with absences when we know the students and the families are putting forth the necessary effort, to be present and to complete work that is assigned. We're all, I'm very, disappointed, for many things regarding COVID, and one of them is learning. We want students at school. We want staff to be able to come to work. We want all our families to be able to come to work and return to things. But until, and I think Dr. Holman mentioned this earlier, until we do our best to get healthy as a community and beyond our community, we're in this remote learning for a period of time. So we're going to do our very, very best, and we're going to adjust as we go along for students to learn and for all of us to provide what's best.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, for those all that great input there and those reminders, for sure. Really appreciate that. As we continue on with these great questions, how about an anonymous one via the Google form? And when will Canvas login information be available for students and parents? Just to take a step backward, Canvas is the is the platform that Serrano High School and Serrano High School will be using. I'm guessing that that's what might be where this is coming from. And so I'm going to make certain that Alan gets queued up for this, because that information, I can tell you, will be coming soon, right? That high school level Canvas platform will be coming soon. But Alan, want to make sure you can talk a little bit more about logging in and anything else that you might want to share about Canvas as people get ready for using that LMS.
Absolutely. Great. That is a very good question. Just to let you know that over at Serrano High School, Dr. Willie Jones, the school principal, sent out an email on July 31st, just this past week. It was pretty comprehensive, had a number of links regarding Canvas. This was sent home to Serrano family and friends. So I would go ahead and check your email to see if you might have that email in there. It'll be very useful. But if you do not find your email and you've looked in your spam and whatnot, I would go ahead and contact Serrano High School directly and make sure that they have a current email address on file, and so that they can go ahead and forward that information to you.
Alan, thanks so very much. I appreciate you supporting that question there for sure. As we move forward, how about an anonymous question via text? It says, how are kids on IEPs and or in county classes with specific in-person needs going to be handled, especially for younger elementary school kids like pre-K and kindergarten? So thanks to this individual via text, this anonymous individual who asked. And we've talked on a couple of occasions about IEPs. So again, as those reminders, and I appreciate talking about this again and again, because this is exciting news during this time that those services will be continued. I want to be really clear about that. It's what we owe the kids. It's what will happen. It'll be in a virtual format. Okay, so look for that information forthcoming, but also the contact of the case carriers. And I think that really is important to know too, because when those with those specific in-person needs, it's going to be the parents working with those case carriers to talk about and determine through that IEP process, right, what's best for that child to ensure the success. Now, that virtual format's what we're in, and so we're going to try to find ways to support those students. But it's that collaboration and that contact to come to those solutions that are best for the kids. When we talk about kids, how about those real young ones? The same holds true for those pre-K and kindergarten kids. They have those same rights, and ultimately, we owe that to those kids at that age too. So again, I just want to really reiterate to not only this individual writing this question, but to all, look for those contacts with those case carriers so that we can continue to work together, find those solutions for the success of our students, all of our students on IEPs. So thank you for that question. As we continue down here, there's a Google form question from Melissa Q. And it says, when will each school's daily schedule be released so that parents and guardians can start figuring out work, daycare, and other accommodations? Melissa Q, thank you for this question. I'll look for some additional details from my colleagues here on this, but I want to say this, Melissa. I want you to know that we know of the needs that you just mentioned. We get that all of you are trying to prepare your families and your students for this school year. And it's not just the kids at our school, it's your whole lives here. So I want to really give a shout out to our sites. They are working really hard to get those very, very soon. There are a lot of moving parts here. We talked about lunch. We talked about technology. There are so many moving parts here, but I want you to know that they're very close. Those will be coming very, very soon. Alan Miller alluded to our leadership council meetings. We've had, I think, 5 over the last 8 days, and we're having another one coming up to really finalize that information so we can get out. You can rely on it. You can make those plans. But to anyone on the team, I'll offer this up this time. I haven't done this. Would anyone like to add to that equation? If you don't, you can just shake your head. But anyone else on that? I think I've got no takers on that. So we're going to you're stuck with Ryan Holman's answer, but I do think, honestly, just like all of them, we're giving the honest truth on every single question coming really, really soon because of the great work of our site. So thank you, Melissa Q, for that. As we continue, there's a Google form question from Bill C. And Bill C writes, what is the minimum time per period that teachers So let me rephrase it. What is the minimum time per period will teachers at the high school level be required to schedule as part of the daily live interaction requirement? Bill C., thank you. I apologize for not reading that very well. You wrote that appropriately and I didn't read it well, but thank you for that question. What you're going to see as those schedules, and this is a very appropriate with those schedules, you're going to see the time periods listed for kids in the given periods at the high school level. It will be listed. Now, all of that will not be daily live interaction time. And I will tell you, as our school sites work through that, you're going to be getting information that will be aligned with this, with your question. But as you get that, I want you to know this here, Bill C., and to everyone. That daily live interaction is going to vary in many cases. And I know we're talking about a minimum, but I want to prepare people for not just a minimum, but also a maximum. Those lessons will really dictate what's needed for the kids to ensure their success. Now, we know we can't keep kids, as was asked earlier, online for hours on end. But we also know in some cases we might have virtual lab assignments. We might have other project-based assignments that would require more time online and less time off. So look for those time frames that those school sites will be giving to you, Bill C., when you talk about not just a minimum, but also how long it could be. And then as we work with each individual teacher and we see the daily and the weekly plans, you'll have a better indication so that you can be prepared to support your child as we move forward. Alan Miller, I'll just give you an opportunity to add to that because I know you've been working in this realm. Anything I might have missed?
No, you covered it perfectly, Ryan. It will vary, based on academic lesson or activity, and the need for whatever the need is for balance between that synchronous and asynchronous learning.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alan, for those additional details. Now, as I look at the clock, we're coming up on 6 o'clock, but I want to really take ownership. My apologies for slowing this down. I didn't get ourselves up here going soon enough, so I told you we're going to honor the time, and we'll be ending at that 6:15 time. As I look ahead, we might be able to get through every question. So thanks to all of you out there who are hanging in there with us, and let's keep moving along so we can get through the last 10 questions or so. Google form from Leslie D. Is there still a requirement for physical education at home for students? And if so, what would be accepted as a documented activity? Now I'm going to cue up Dennis Zimmerman and kind of move ourselves along pretty rapidly to honor what I just said. But I'll tell you this, physical education is critical. It's essential. It's essential, not just from a legal standpoint, but more importantly, it's good for kids. We got to get kids connected on that physical education end. So Dennis, can you talk about the work that you've already done and what we might be able to share with everybody to look forward to?
Yes, our elementary, middle school, and physical education teachers will still be connecting with students and providing activities for them to do and complete. And they'll take a variety of different looks. So it's hard to explain specifically what it will be, but they will be teachers reaching out with those activities as the school year gets going. Middle school, high school, if it's a class in their schedule, which it will be for a majority of students, and elementary will be providing that as we have in the past with our itinerant certificated teachers and PE instructional associates.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis, for talking about that and looking forward to that, right? Because again, I just want everyone to know how good that is for kids. As we move forward here, here's a text message, an anonymous one. It says, is the staff going to have training and how will it be? Again, yes to that. Give Alan a chance to add some details. I'll just say this. Yes on training, really on the safety side, right? How do we make certain that we're safe and ensuring that transmission of COVID-19 coronavirus does not continue? So there's training in that regard, and that's always ongoing, but also training, as Alan had made mention, to ensure that at-home learning is as robust and as exciting as we've been talking about. Alan, anything you want to add to that question?
No, we had the similar question early on, and I went into a lot of detail regarding what that training is going to look like. All I can say is we've got two pretty solid days of that remote school training, and of course ongoing support throughout the duration of remote learning.
Yeah, thanks, Alan, for adding those details. As we continue, here's a Google form question from an elementary school parent. And it says, if I choose remote learning and San Bernardino County gets off the watch list and I am not comfortable sending the kids, will I be able to continue with remote learning, or will that not be an option, is the first question. And then secondly, will the kids have the same teacher if they're allowed to continue with remote learning? Love this question because I'm guessing that this might not have been on the minds of a lot of people, but I know now that we've read it, I bet it is on the minds of everyone. So thank you for this question. And I'll say this to the first part: I'd love to get off that watch list, or a waiver too would apply in this case. But in terms of that comfort level, I would say this: I want to bring everyone back to what our school board approved, and that was a three-pronged approach to our school reopening. We now have a two-pronged approach because Governor Newsom's requirement at the state level said at-home learning only. But if we think about that third one, it was an in-person. And what I can share with you is, as you cannot predict the future completely, but I would predict, and to the best of my ability, would be that yes, we're going to have that opportunity for that to continue, because there would be some form of us getting off of the watch list and being able to transition back, not like a light switch per se, but much like has been said by Governor Newsom, a dimmer switch, which would maintain that remote school option as we go back. So I'm looking forward to that being available. And then in that second question, will the kids have that same teacher? That's absolutely what we would endeavor to do. One of the best outcomes that we get are connections with our connections between students and teachers. And so as we transition off, we would want to maintain that same teacher. So thank you for that question from that elementary school parent. I really appreciate that, not just at the elementary level, but across all of our systems. Text message, an anonymous one says, does the district want the students to get the Chromebooks even though they have their own computers? It's a wonderful question too, that maybe I wouldn't have thought would have come up here, but it is our intent for all students to get their Chromebooks. So we appreciate you asking that. Robert, I know we've talked a little bit about this. You want to provide any details that I maybe didn't share there?
Yeah, for sure. We had the same question in the chat a little bit ago, and Chromebooks will be available for all our students. The thing to consider, if you want your student to use their own technology, there are some courses, mostly at the secondary level, that kind of have their own software platforms, right? So some courses will require specific software. I'll use, for example, MMA at the high school, right? So they're going to have Adobe Premiere or Adobe Final Cut, something along those lines for video editing. So there's going to be specific software on the machines depending on your class. But we are not opposed to you using your own technology if your technology can support your class.
Thanks, Robert. My apologies for being slow off that mute button. Appreciate the details that you just provided as well. Here's our next question. It's an anonymous one on the Google form. Is it possible to set it up to where if we choose Snowline Academy, that homeschool program, we can have a teacher from the school, probably the school enrollment, or that we transferred from, be our contact teacher instead of someone at Snowline Academy? Thank you for this question. I think it's an important one, as all the other ones are. Those two programs are distinct. They are separate. And so by going over to Snowline Academy, that connection to that school, to that teacher on the back, on the other end, is really something that we have not prepared for. Now, I will share with you that Snowline Academy does have teachers there too, right, who are facilitating that process. But the learning coach typically is the family member, of that household. So know that those are two distinct programs. And so if you want that contact teacher at the school site, I really encourage you to stay with that remote school design so that you can have that contact teacher assigned to you at all times and get what you need in that regard. So thank you for that question. As we go to the next one, there's a YouTube question from D. Kilpatrick, and it says, if Snowline is cleared for classroom instruction in the future, will we be allowed to continue with the Canvas program? Or if we do not want to send our kids back to school this year? And again, I think that's very similar to the one that we talked above. What we're looking for and predicting, D. Kilpatrick, is that transition, that notion of, as we go back into probably some sort of a design that is not the traditional design that we've always endeavored to have. We'll be prepared to support that at all levels. of our school system. So thank you for asking that question. Next one's a text message, and it's an anonymous one. It says, if schools reopen, will parents still have the choice to send their kids back or continue at home learning? I think that's that same answer there. So I hope I answered that question to that anonymous individual via text. And then on the Google form, Amanda G, will the school year follow the current 2020-21 school calendar, other than the delayed start, of course, which is on August 17th? Dennis, you had that piece up. Dennis, what details would you like to provide other than yes there?
Yes, I mean, as we know right now, the only change to the student schedule that was previously posted in the spring is that school will start 2 days later, and the 2 student attendance days, and this is available on the website now, that will replace the Thursday and Friday, August 13 and 14, will be Monday, January 4, which was originally scheduled as a staff in-service day, and Friday, May 21, which was originally scheduled as an inclement weather day. So students still need to have 180 student days per Senate Bill 98 and the Ed Code. That's not an option. Instructional minutes, we were given a little bit of grace, but not instructional days. So August 13 and 14 now become January 4 and May 21.
Yeah, Dennis, thanks for all those details. Really appreciate that for sure. And thank you for that question. As we continue on, a text message from an anonymous individual. What is going to happen with clubs? Also, what is going to happen with the freshmen? And will there be normal electives? And will students get their schedules? So yes to the schedules, yes to normal, yes to electives. Normal might be relative here because normal might have that connotation of in person, but know that electives are occurring. Look forward to those wonderful teachers making those experiences really powerful in the at-home learning design. And when we talk about happening with those freshmen, please know that our high schools, and I say high schools plural, are committed to lifting up those freshmen and ensuring that they're going to be at the ready. And when we talk about clubs, here's an area where we have to be creative. And I can share with you that I've been very proud of our staff members and really going beyond clubs and just looking for ways to connect kids in an at-home learning environment. They're having those discussions. I don't think those plans are formulated completely, but look forward to those answers, because again, social connection is so key, right? That human connection, and it can be done virtually. So look forward to answers coming relative to clubs in the really near future. As we move forward, there's an anonymous Google form, a few questions here, and it says, how many hours per day week are TK and K students expect to be online for classroom instructing? There are 180 minutes per day, but that's not necessarily online. So I think, as we've talked before, your teachers for your students will be talking about what those overall expectations, those will be communicated very soon. And we talked too about paper and pencil lessons is supporting in a supplemental way. That look forward to hearing from teachers in that regard. And how will classroom work be submitted to teachers? Again, those teachers are true experts in their crafts, and they're going to be talking about how they can get that information to you. And that's going to be dependent upon those teachers. And so look forward to all that information coming very, very soon. Alan, anything you want to add to that, though? Because that's, before I move on, I want to make sure you could add something maybe I missed.
Yeah, sorry for the delay, Ryan. Yeah, once again, I believe we've covered all of this information. So I really have nothing to add. I'm really looking at the question, and I think you did a very good job in answering it. So thank you.
Well, thanks. That didn't happen very often there by me there. So thanks, Alan. I appreciate that. Hey, as we move on here, and I hope everyone appreciates just trying to get to the last few here, what measures are being taken to ensure that instruction will not overlap with other classes? This is thank you for asking this question. I will tell you, because things like master schedules, not to get too educationally focused with the terms that we use, but because we use a scheduling process, that overlap and the way that those schedules that will be coming out to you, that's been a consideration. Also, I want to add to that our teachers do a wonderful job working in what we call a professional learning community model. That's a collaborative design whereby they can all work together to make decisions like this to ensure that what we're doing is supporting kids and making certain that those overlaps really are not occurring for the success of kids. Again, really appreciate these thoughtful questions, and I'm hoping that these answers are helpful. As we continue with the last few here, it says, will lunch be provided for children? That is a yes via the Google form from an anonymous individual. And if so, how will that work? Is it the same lunchtime? Those lunchtimes are forthcoming. We see that being determined by the end of the week. I think Robert Chacon had alluded to that. Please hang on to us, but those lunches and those meals will be provided. I really want to drive that home, that that's going to be there. So please count on that to ensure that if your kids need those meals and want those meals, they will be there for you, and look for those times very soon. As we go to an anonymous Google form, you've said that there will be a daily interaction with teachers, and there's required 180 to 240 minutes of mandatory instruction. Does this mean that our children will be online for the full instructional time? That answer would be no, but again, those teachers will be telling you what to expect on an average basis, but also that time is for completion of assignments and for the studying, even, for I shouldn't say studying, but for the completion of assessments. So look forward to that. And then it says, are students still required to do homework on top of remote schooling? Now, again, you're going to hear all those details from your teachers. And again, I'll just stress that'll all be forthcoming. But no, there's a lot of time there for those kids to get great learning happening in that home learning environment. And then that'll be differentiated. I certainly want to prepare people for this answer. It'll be differentiated by grade level, and certainly more time probably away for those kids who are older might be expected than those who are younger. And that next question from Richard P. in Google form. I'm not sure if my daughter is signed up for classes. How do I know? And when will they get their textbook binder reminders? Those materials are forthcoming. Really, you're going to see schedules for next week, and those in almost all cases, those schools providing those materials next week. Look forward to that. And then if your daughter's signed up, I'll say this. If your daughter ended at one of our schools last year, your daughter is signed up for classes for this year. Now, if your daughter is new to our school district, please contact our district office. Let's get your daughter enrolled. But assuming that most of the kids who ended with, most of the kids probably listening to this ended with us last year, then your daughter will be enrolled in that same school. Or if your daughter's in 5th grade, we'll be going to that next 6th grade middle school. Or if your daughter was in 8th grade, we'll be going up to the high school. Look forward to that occurring. That next question from Alyssa O, as we just get down to our last few here. What times will materials be distributed? But I can tell you there are different times at different sites. Alyssa O, thanks for asking the question. Look forward to those details coming out very, very soon, because I know our sites are very close to finalizing that. I think we've talked about that before, and I just want to drive that home. They're working really hard to support all of you. And so thanks for asking that question and being at the ready to come get what you need. Via YouTube, Kara R says about Care Solace that it's a question about Care Solace, it looks like, and it says, will there be any support groups for LGBTQ children released by the district? These kids are being trapped at home in potentially dangerous situations. Boy, Kara, really appreciate this question. And that Care Solace really talks about a service that's provided in the virtual format. We have it up on our website. I want to just attract attention to that, Kara, right now, that for kids, not only LGBTQ children, but all kids who have needs in the mental health regards, who might be in potentially dangerous situations, know that Care Solace, as is referenced here, is available. But again, if there are dangerous situations, Kara, please, reach out to authorities, right? That's first and foremost. If someone's in a dangerous situation, reach out to the authorities. As we get into the school year and as we start that school year, you know that our staff members are there to be able to support. So Kara, thank you for this really important question. Make certain that they reach out. And we talk specifically, again, I don't want to avoid that, about LGBTQ children. We're there for them, and those support groups, I will tell you, are being developed across our entire system, as I talked about clubs. So please reach out to your counselors, reach out to your teachers if in fact you feel like there isn't the support needed. So Kara, thank you for sharing what you did. As we get down to our 50th question here, a text message, anonymously, how is TK going to be worked out? And I guess as I kind of read into this, I would just say that TK is being offered. TK stands for transitional kindergarten. It is offered just as it is with kindergarten. It is going to be at home. Know that kids need to be enrolled, right? So I'll take this opportunity again to say, if your child is not enrolled in TK, please reach out to our school district. You can reach out, call us. Get our forms are posted outside of our enrollment forms are posted outside of our buildings here. Come and get those and ensure that we get your child enrolled. That telephone call is probably the quickest to the school that you're going to be coming to, or a district office, and know that that program will be available for all kids. I know we're up at 6:15, but we just have 3 more questions. I think we can get through them all if you're still bearing with us, and I want to honor that. Question number 51 says, if students are not allowed on campus and my child is in the process of being tested for special education, how will that be done? Now it says if students are not allowed on campus, that's exactly right. We're in that at-home learning design. But please here, I'm going to reiterate that case carrier. That case carrier is going to be reaching out. And when we talk about special education, there's regular assessments. During those regular assessments, those case carriers will talk about that process. A process is being worked out for that to occur. So look forward to that, because there are opportunities for ourselves to ensure that that testing can be done and can be done appropriately, all in a safe way to ensure the success of your child in special education. So look forward to information in that regard. But when it says simply how it will be done safely, and it'll be done according to our health experts and according to the law, but also the guidance that we're getting from the Desert Mountain SELPA organization that supports us. That text message that's an anonymous one is the last one. Why do classified employees will be in person and not teachers? And as I see this question, I think Dennis Zimmerman had alluded to this. We're looking to ensure that flexibility. I want to bring up that term because Dennis Zimmerman introduced that term very well and very appropriately. Dennis, do you want to talk about this right here? I know we've talked about it a bit already, but maybe there's some details that you can provide that would assist with this question.
Now, I think with classified employees, it is a unique situation in that that's right around 100 different job descriptions, where some folks can only do their job from work. Others can have some other flexibility, and that's what we're looking towards, is that flexibility. When you mention teachers, that's a group that's all doing the same job. It's just a little bit unique. And like I said, we're still working together so that we can meet the needs of staff as much as we possibly can, while still also accomplishing the work of the district for students and the work that we do to support one another.
Dennis, thanks so very much for that question there. Thank you for that answer, and thank you for the question there from that anonymous person via text. And here's our looks like second to last question here. Another one I think being typed in here, but there are many parents like myself who have multiple children. I have 4 children at different grade and different learning levels. How are teachers and staff going to help parents through difficulties with teaching numerous children? Thanks for this question. Really appreciate that. I want to tell you that our staff members are mindful of this situation. Just as in the regular school setting, we know in the at-home learning design, this presents additional challenges in situations where we have multiple children. I think when we talk about that how and the usual help that they provide, I really want to reach out to those of you who are in the situation that was just expressed by the anonymous person. Please talk to the teachers. Please connect with them and start to not only impress upon them your situation, but start to work in that together design, as I mentioned oh so often, to try to find solutions so that we can provide assistance to your students in a way that supports your family. And conversely, you can help us in this effort to have the greatest outcome. I really appreciate the challenges that are presented with this question, and I want you to know that we're committed to trying to provide those solutions as best we possibly can in ways that will be successful for all 4 of your kids, but all kids across our district. And lastly, here's an anonymous question. It says, where can we find the EBF, the Educational Benefit Form? Where can we find that form again? Love this question here. Again, urge everyone to do that. That EBF form, I think there's an opportunity on YouTube to click on that. But as we're getting ready to be done with our YouTube channel, please know on our website, simply go to our website, and then one of the first things you're going to see is that EBF form. There's access to that on our website. It's a 1 or 2 clicks away, and as you get into that, less than 5 minutes. And I want to reiterate, everybody who completes this form, and again, it's confidential, no social security number is required. What it does is it provides more funding for our students. That's right, for programs and resources that support them. We're looking for 100% this year, so it's something that can be done right now. If you're looking to get a jump start on the school year, here you go to our website, click on the EBF form, and there's a big right on our front page, a way to get right access to that and take you less than 5 minutes. And what a great way to support our students. Now, that's our final question. We're at 6:20. Thanks to everyone, first and foremost, for joining us. Secondly, for hanging in there if you're still there. I want to tell you, it's been my pleasure to be part of this town hall. And as I give my words of thanks, I want to thank Dennis Zimmerman, Alan Miller, and Robert Chacon for their outstanding support, their resources in the form of answers. Thank you for their great work tonight and all the great work that they do. And also to Nancy Stapp, to James Fields, and to Rick Hernandez. They're the ones behind the scenes who make this format available. Great work by them. I really appreciate that. And then to all of you out there, I just have to say just a few things. One, I miss all of you. I'm just so sad that we can't have this in-person design right now. But as we think about the in-person design, you heard me say right now, I see that coming in the future. When? I don't know. It's going to be some time. But what I want to say is this. If there's a way for us to control our destiny, and I think control is really important in our lives, we can control ourselves getting back to in-person sooner, in my opinion, than maybe San Bernardino County, like that question talked about, that monitoring list. And so if you're one who's been wearing a face mask, who's been physically distancing, who's been using the hygiene measures that are all recommended to reduce COVID-19 and coronavirus spreads, thank you. Let's keep doing that. And if we can do that collectively, if we can do that as an entirety, that is the Snowline learning community, I think that's a way for us to get back to in-person learning sooner rather than later. But we're in at-home learning right now, and we're going to do it the best in this high desert. We're going to do it the best in this region of San Bernardino County and beyond. We're going to provide what's necessary for your kids for them to be successful. And so I thank all of you for supporting us. I thank all of you for being part of tonight. And I thank you in advance for the work that's ahead, because as I've said before, if there's ever a time for us to work together, it's now, because as always, we know that together truly is the better way. So thank you so very much. Have a wonderful night, and reach out to us soon as we get ready for this at-home learning design.